If you're hand coding of HTML5 is cutting and pasting text and tags, there'll be a bit of work. But if you're building websites, which certainly many people still do and have expertise with that, then you're way ahead of the curve, and I think you actually find it much easier than it looks to put together.
Yeah. In the 6 years since LeWeb has started, Mozilla has really been at the forefront of browser technology. Firefox, I remember working at Microsoft and banging on Dean Hakamovich, who ran the Internet Explorer team, and saying this new browser called Firefox is really going to change our business, and we better pay attention to it. We better reinvest in the internet technology. And to your credit, you got them to do that, right? Internet Explorer 9 now is a competent web browser, finally.
We view that as a success. Actually, one of Mozilla's successes is to drag a bunch of other organizations and companies into the modern world.
Yeah. But now, but today, let's be honest, Mozilla is facing competition that it hasn't seen in those 6 years, right? Google Chrome is my web browser preference for the first time in the last year. Partly for two reasons. One, speed, and two, user interface simplicity. I like the simplicity. What is Firefox going to do to innovate, to keep people here interested in using your products?
Actually, I think you've asked two questions. One is, what are we doing to innovate? And the other is, what about a set of features that you're particularly drawn to? I'll answer that one first. So speed, we're all pretty much in the same game now. If you check out Firefox 4 in the betas. So, one of the things that Mozilla has always said is we're about building competition and the web as platform. And we are, again, maybe a little like Matt, we're a nonprofit organization, really to our core. And we have legal structures, we have a taxable entity, but we actually think of everything we do as this nonprofit, and so competition is part of what we're about. Now, it makes it harder, like you have to compete well. So, but we welcome not only the improvement in IE9, but also competition, because you do your best when you have to do your best. Yeah. The current versions of Firefox 4 are just as fast. Check them out, you'll find. I think that one, different browsers will be faster on different things, but it won't be noticeable. You particularly like the one feature of the combined search box.
Yeah. So
maybe we'll do that one, maybe we won't. Whenever you have competition, there's often a set of people who like one feature, and that will drive them. But in the broader question of how do we distinguish ourselves, how do we innovate, and how do we compete, that's the last one. There's a set of things. So we will see, I hope that we continue to see interesting technical innovations come out of Google. Let's hope so. That much money and that many smart people. And they have a bunch of data about how we use the web. So I hope to see that, and I think that's good for all of us. There'll be a bunch of innovations that come out of Mozilla as well. In the innovation side, the area where I think you will see Mozilla look different from everyone else is that the focus of our innovation is much more integrated across the web. We're not trying to integrate our browser with our business stack or our services. We're trying to build an innovative way for people to manage an experience across multiple websites.
And let's talk about that one search box that I like that uses URLs and search terms is integrated totally with Google, right? And we can't take that out and put Bing in there. And with Firefox, you're the Switzerland of the internet, right? You're not going to choose one winner over the other.
That's right. In fact, when Firefox first shipped, we had the search box, and we had Google and Yahoo and a few others in there. To my knowledge, that was the first product that ever had Google and Yahoo in the same product. And that was a fundamental deal term, where it was not the norm at the time. Everyone you talked to and every offer was only exclusivity, and that was one of my fundamental terms, that we would not build what you just described, where you get a browser and not only is it default, you have an option, but you're tied to one provider whether you want it or not. So that's one area that's become standard. And then there are other areas, again, I think apps is one, probably identity, who am I, how do I identify myself to the world, that's something that should be available across the web.
Yeah.
I mean, many of us are very happy using Facebook as an identity, but maybe there should be places and options where we might not want to use it, or it ties in differently, or we have some control.
Well, and there you're seeing new competition from Rockmelt and Flop that are trying to build a browser for the Facebook person. Are we in danger of being locked in another trunk with Facebook in that way? And what are your ideas of where the social web is going, and do we need a new rethink of the browser for that new user?
Again, you got two
questions.
Yeah.
I have too many questions for you.
Well, you're ahead of me because I counted two. But do we need? Should the browser change?
Yeah.
And are we locked in with identity? I think are the two. I'll start with the identity one first. Well, yeah, I think we're at risk of being locked in with identity. But I think to think about that, let's assume for a moment all the things that Ethan said yesterday are even truer than he said them. That Facebook is a great company, that it's very focused on privacy issues, that it really cares about user trust, and user convenience are the core of the offering that they're trying to build. Let's just stipulate that's the case. I say that's still not enough. However great and remarkable a company Facebook is, I don't want it to own me. And thus Mozilla. And so there should be a layer, and I think Mozilla is the place to put it, where I have some basic identity. There's some, I shouldn't say Mozilla. Mozilla is the place to offer it and demonstrate it and hope that many will adopt it. But there's some basic criteria of who I am and how do I identify myself to the web that I have control of. And that needs to integrate really well with Facebook, because that's where most people are. You know, and I will say that I don't pose this as opposition to Facebook, and I don't think, you know, Ethan or others would jump up and down and be unhappy about it. It's not meant, it's just meant to say that I have some option and I can own myself.
But with the Rockmelt browser, just to open up the browser, I need to sign into Facebook, right? And that is a danger to the web, isn't it?
Well, simply having the choice to do that isn't necessarily a danger to the web. I think if too many people, if that's the only good choice and too many people adopt it, then they will look up later on and we'll all find out things are not so great later on. But a browser that's totally tied to Facebook or useful only in Facebook, or you can only get to the web through Facebook, may be useful for some people. I mean, some people live in Facebook, so maybe a tool that does that is the right tool. I think over time it will be very limited even for those people, and just a disaster for those who want to live outside of Facebook at least some of the time.
And I guess that's the second part of the question is I use Seismic or TweetDeck, or I'm using a lazy scope right now on my computer in the front row. Those are not browsers, they're not the web, but they're surfacing Facebook, Twitter, and RSS to me in a new way. Do we need a rethink of the browser for that?
Yes, I think so. I don't even like the word browser. It's 15 years old, and I've been working on browsers since most of those 15 years. So I know it's really ancient, and I think browser is the wrong word, and the way we think about it is much too concrete. We don't browse anymore, for sure. And when you think of the browser, like a general consumer thinks of the box that we see, or the screen with the buttons, and then the techie and tech-savvy folk think of the technology and the rendering engine underneath it. That, of course, will stay. But the key to the browser, and the reason it's so important, is that it's been the place where I actually have control, not just over an app, or picking an app, or downloading it, but what's the experience of the web? How can I customize it? How do I make it myself? How do I own it? So those are the qualities that, and so I'll give one concrete example. We're all familiar now with, you type something in the location bar and you get the suggestions of where you've been, your history, so you don't have to go back and search again. That is a very concrete example of managing your experience across multiple websites. It's obvious now we don't think of it that way, but what makes the browser useful is all the different ways in which it's me, not you. And that set of traits as human beings and as developers, we need to have on the web. So whether it looks like a screen with back and forth buttons or almost no buttons like Chrome or there's no UI to it at all, that's just an implementation of how do I control my web experience. Including, I just want to say, well, we think something that looks a little more app-like.
Yeah, and that gets back to the apps that we started with. What is this new app experience going to be like in Firefox, and how is that going to compete with Google Chrome's app experience? Because they're trying to get us into this new world through the app stores. And so are you like it?
Well, the first thing that's different is we don't think of apps in Firefox. But we think of how do people interact with the web, and how do we make that better? So it's pretty clear there's a bunch of traits about apps that people like. And they may include discovery, installing something, there's kind of an emotional response, it's easy, and then of course there's the very focused nature of the application. You're not getting the whole web, you're getting exactly what you want. So those things people want. At the same time, as you pointed out, the apps that are available to us today are very limited and very controlled, and they don't integrate with the web, and you don't have the ability to do much with them yourself other than consume them. Customizing them is difficult. And so that's the merger that we're looking for. Right? Apps should be findable, monetizable, installable, lovable, but still have data that interacts with the web, that you can move. And so our view of what we're trying to create is not a Firefox web app system. It's an open web app system. It should run on Firefox, it should run on modern browsers, it should run on your mobile device, the data should be able to move. So we have, technical specifications and documents and a pretty clear idea of how we think it would work to have things that look and feel like apps, that might be single purpose, like Siri, limited purpose, that might be more general, like closer to a website if you want it, that can be found through your mobile device or through a browser, can be installed and paid for, but that you can use on multiple devices. There might be multiple app stores. This is a model in which maybe Mozilla should run an app store, but we don't have to. As the key problem is solving the discoverability and findability and one-click ease and payment. Like we don't feel like we have to be in the middle of it and control it and make it Firefox. We do not intend to copy that model.
Very cool. I think we're out of time based on the clock, but I don't see LeWeb coming out here bothering me. Tell me about what, are you on? We're out of time? One last question. Are you on Twitter, and can we talk to you about these issues, and can we have a dialogue in public about where the web is going?
Oh, absolutely. Please, I'm at Mitchell Baker. Easy to find, and still a little under the radar, but I'm sure you'll change that now. I'd love it, right? These are questions where the more input we get, the better. We don't have a filter through what our business model or our view of the world is, and so we're trying to get the best we can.
Very cool. Thank you, and hope you prove right that we're not going to get locked in these things. Are we going to call LeWeb LeApps next year?
Oh, we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Come back anytime. Did you enjoy it?
I am.
You are.
And I will.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.